What's up, everybody? Another edition of Bears Over Beers, powered by Second City Gridiron. Might be a little Bears Over Bourbon tonight, though. Ryan Drosty here with my good friend Brian Oranchuk. And Brian, we were optimistic last week. We both predicted a win, but we didn't know for sure. And so, coming off of a big win against the Washington Commanders, feeling pretty good tonight. How you doing?
Yeah, absolutely, feeling great. It was one that we could see a scenario where we won, but we were texting throughout the game, and it got increasingly concerning as it unfolded for various reasons. But at the end of the day, we came down with the W, and that is all that matters. So stoked nonetheless. It did prevent some good sleep that night, I will say. But it was worth it, and I'm still riding high off that one. Looking forward to this week.
Yeah, man. Same. That's the thing, like how on earth do you go to sleep after a Monday night game, especially like that, a walk-off win with the field goal? Your adrenaline is pumping, you're trying to go to sleep and you're just wide awake. Like I was texting you a little bit later than usual because you're an hour ahead of me, and I was like, I bet he's not sleeping. There's no way he's not sleeping right now.
No, and I was not. I couldn't. My wife was not happy. I got in bed and she looked at her phone. She's like, 2 a.m. What are you doing? I was like, we just won,
Yeah. I mean, it felt like sweet revenge. I know we had people in our comments saying, what are you talking about, revenge? It's not a revenge game. Come on. It was the way that game went last year. I mean, it just tanked the Bears season. Obviously it ended up working out for the better, Brian, because if the Bears win that game last year without the Hail Mary, they're 5-2, and the odds that you actually get our new head coach in Ben Johnson, probably not happening. I mean, like, there's a good chance Eberflus is still coaching this team, God forbid. So it ended up working out great. But for us to get the win there with a field goal with Jake Moody, who was just activated from the practice squad the day of the game, was just, I mean, I was already nervous about the game. And then when he's kicking the game winner, the adrenaline, like we said, is pumping. And then you're just trying to come down from it afterwards. I'm watching post game as much as possible. I'm chatting with you. But in the end, this team that started 0-2 has a winning record with a great chance at another win this Sunday against the New Orleans Saints. We're going to be talking about it here. If you're joining us live on YouTube, please hit subscribe, hit the like button. That'll help us out a lot. It's time to have an adult beverage, Brian. What do you got for us tonight?
So I do not have any bourbon. I didn't make it to the liquor store, but this is a special occasion, and I do prefer bourbon to scotch. But I'm breaking out my favorite bottle of scotch right now, and I don't know if you've heard of Talisker. It is a single malt. It's aged 10 years scotch. It's made on the only distillery on the Isle of Skye. And it is said that with each sip, you can smell and taste the mist as it crashes against the ocean rocks on the Isle of Skye. It's a very smoky bourbon. So obviously it's got a lot of peaty notes in it, which I prefer in my scotch. Some people can't stand it. I love some smoke. And I'll take all the smoke after that win in Washington. So bring it on, man. What do you got?
Absolutely. Well, I think I may have teased this one in advance when I said I'll break out a special bottle.
That's right.
If we get the win. And I got a couple of things to share here. So number one, let me just go full screen for a second. I do have the brand new Bears Over Beers. Nope, scratch that. Bears Over Bourbon.
Yeah.
I don't know. That
Love
ring
it.
light is, there you go. Bears Over Bourbon, rocks glass, which is tremendous. And then I only break this out for special occasions. At least here in the Midwest, this one is really, really hard to find. But I got the Blantons. This is the top shelf right here. So this is a local single barrel hand selected pick from my local liquor store called Happy's. You can see that right there. So it is a special pick version of Blanton's, and Yeah, how do you like your whiskey? Do you drink it neat or do you put a little ice in there? How do you like it?
Yeah, it depends. I do prefer it either neat or with a single stout ice cube. Um, typically, I haven't done a good whiskey ginger in a long time. Um, as far as if I'm going out somewhere, like we've talked about, old fashioned. We love some old fashions. But if I'm drinking and sipping on a good bit, I'll mix it with some good ginger ale. I try to go with the organic, not too sugary ginger ale. I do that, and typically I don't mix bottles as good as the Blanton's with some ginger ale because I like to appreciate the bottle more. But Blanton's is good stuff, man. I've had it a couple times, and yeah, I really like it. And I do prefer bourbon, like I said, but if I'm doing Scotch, then Talisker is my go-to. If you haven't tried it, you should check it out.
Very good. Well, I got it neat right now. I might add some ice cube as we go. I usually like one ice cube in it, but we'll
Yeah,
drink it neat to start here. So,
yeah.
cheers everybody. 3 and 2 feels real good. Yeah. Oh yeah. Smooth, very smooth. Man, I needed this after tonight. I was telling you off air. My wife's at a conference right now. I'm with the 3 girls on my own. Took them out to eat. It's been chaos around here. So that's why we were a little bit late going on the air. 15 minutes late. Held it together though. Daddy needs some bourbon tonight. So this is about as good as it comes when it comes to bourbon. Blanton's is so smooth, so good. So
Yes, it's great stuff.
if you guys are drinking along with us tonight, even if it's non-alcoholic, that's fine. Let us know in the chat. We are streaming tonight on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook.
Nice,
So
man.
yeah,
Nice.
got the Twitter stream working. So wherever you're joining us from, hit us in the chat. We'll get you involved in the show. Let us know your thoughts on the matchup with the New Orleans Saints this Sunday, and any thoughts you have on the Washington Commanders game as we get going. Talking about that one, I guess, Brian. I mean, any major takeaways? I know the game has been dissected to death now over the last 48 hours, but anything you want to get off your chest about that game?
Yeah, a lot of us were concerned regarding how the Bears were going to respond after a bye week for the first time with the new coaching staff. And so I was just thrilled with the way that unfolded. Granted, we still had some penalties. A lot of them were, for another conversation. But what I was most impressed by was the way that they attacked the run game. The coaching staff, Ben Johnson, how he got them to run. I mean, they looked like a solid running team. They manhandled one of the top third best run defenses in the league, and Swifty had over 7.5 yards of carry, over 100 yards on the ground, and that's not even taking into account his biggest play of the game, that 55-yard reception that he took to the house. So I was really happy with the way they responded. There were some other adjustments on defense as well, but mostly on offense. With the run game, opening holes in the run game, and I think they protected Caleb well. But that's something we've seen, I guess, progressing. But we had Theo start left tackle, which was a big deal, and I thought he did really well there. I thought the run defense also did really well, and we saw more of Shamar Turner, and I noted the day after and throughout the game, I saw an awful lot at defensive end. I didn't realize he played every one of his snaps there. So that was another adjustment that they made on the bye week. And I think it paid dividends. You put a defensive tackle type guy at defensive end along with the other two DTs inside and Montez Sweat. That's a pretty stout, formidable, front right there. So, and it worked. So I love the adjustments. And we had a comment on Windy City today after you posted this article regarding Bears over Beers, and somebody's like, it's a trap game. And I absolutely could see how that's the case. I think I felt the same way in Vegas, and I could see that, but I don't fear those anymore because of Ben Johnson, because of the staff that he's put together and the culture that he's built. And this is where you have tangible fruit of what what culture actually does for a franchise. You heard it in Caleb's presser, you heard it in Ben's presser. They're not underlooking or overlooking, however you want to look at it, undervaluing, undervaluing, I guess is the best term. The Saints, they are respecting them, what they bring, and they're approaching this the right way. So I don't have a fear of trap games. I wouldn't be surprised if I get bit in the butt on this one, but I was very pleased with the way they responded after the bye week, the adjustments they made, and how it showed up on the field. And ultimately, we won a game despite losing the turn or penalty battle big time, and all those sloppy conditions and stuff like that. So that was the most impressive takeaway for me. How about you, though?
I mean, how nice is it to finally have a coach you trust like that?
Yeah,
That they can make not just the head coach, but like the defensive coordinator that can make adjustments and
right,
fix what's not working. We
right.
haven't had that in so long. I mean, just carrying off of that point, I was kind of thinking on Monday night as I was laying there trying to sleep about, Ben Johnson is only 5 games into his career as Bears head coach. And, like, he may already be my favorite. Well, I like Joe Madden a lot too as a Cubs fan. I gotta say, but when I'm thinking about football, basketball too,
Yeah,
God, he's like already up there in the upper tier of my favorite Chicago head coaches already. 5 games
right.
in. I mean, obviously you have Phil Jackson. Grew up watching the Bulls.
Yeah.
But post Phil Jackson, I always go to I really like Tibbs a lot as the Bulls head coach,
Mhm.
and I liked Lovey too.
I would love
He
you. Yeah,
he would rank up there too. But man, he's climbing pretty fast. And I was sitting there refreshing my phone, just waiting for that locker room video. Like I'm sure
yeah,
thousands of people were out there. That is tremendous content. Just
yeah,
absolutely awesome. The
yeah,
way that those players take to him, you could just see in that little glimpse in the locker room.
yeah.
Just the respect that he carries, how into having him as a head coach they are. I mean, it's just
Right.
night and day from what we had in the previous few years.
Yeah, yeah. No, he owns it, and he's right. He said, once we clean up these penalties and we have all three phases playing together, like watch out. And I agree. The closest we've had to that so far was the Cowboys game, and we dominated the Cowboys. Um, and so I think you continue to put that together. I was only week 3. You
Yeah.
continue to put things together with Caleb growing in the offense, the running game, gelling and producing consistent yardage. It really is it's looking good. And so it brings up some pretty valid questions, which we'll get to later today. But are we in position to win right now? And if so, do we make any moves before November 5th when the trade deadline comes around? It
Yeah.
if we string off some more wins, especially in the NFC here, then you know I don't know, man. It's an interesting proposition, um, but yeah, I would agree he's trending in the right direction, but obviously we're in the honeymoon phase, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna quite crown his ass yet, but um, um, but I do think he's got what it takes. But talk to me after we play the Packers twice. Like that's ultimately what I want to see, and that's what I loved about Lovey. Like he came in, he said that's what we're going to do, and he did. And he's the last time we actually beat the Packers, and it just kind of goes that way. When you beat the Packers, you contend for the division, and when you contend consistently for the division, you are in the playoffs. And when you're in the playoffs, you've got a chance. And so it's not as meatballish as it might sound. You beat your biggest rival, which is arguably one of the most consistent teams in the division, then all of a sudden good things happen. So in a year like as stacked as the NFC North is right now, Ryan, where we all have winning records,
Mhm.
and he lost that first one opening night. Let's see how he plays the rest of the North the rest of the year, because these are no easy games here on out.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what happened at the beginning and, blowing that game to the Vikings, which obviously we should have won that game. And that was a bad look. But then you get blown out by the Lions, and yet he keeps the trust with his team, and they're able to crawl back from 0-2 after just 2 devastating losses when you think about it, to
Yeah.
3-2 is pretty remarkable for a brand new head coach. And yeah, I mean, like what you were saying about Lovey, the last time we were consistently beating Green Bay, I mean, I think he had like a 5-game winning streak at Lambeau Field, if I'm not mistaken, from like 04 to through 08. God, if we could have that again, that would be incredible. So
Yeah.
let's hope. I'm with you. We got to see what happens once we finally play them late in the year. Chris is checking in. Let's go to these chats really quick. Chris is drinking a single barrel Jack tonight, and he's drinking it neat, no ice. Perfect drink to celebrate a resurgent O-line. Yeah. We'll talk about that. And then James, he's interested in the injury and status of DJ Moore. DJ was DNP in practice today, although they just had a walkthrough. We know he stayed overnight in DC, apparently for a groin injury, but he's considered day to day at this point, according to Ben in his press conference today. So, yeah, the resurgent O-line, no question about it. Also, kind of a ballsy move on Ben's part to make that change as early as he did. Not that Braxton is a bad player by any means, but coming off of that injury, he definitely didn't look the same. So for him to go to Theo Benedette, this guy from Canada, undrafted, throw him in at left tackle, one of the most crucial spots on the O-line, and for him to succeed like he has, I was listening to Baron Balanced. Taylor was on there with Lester yesterday, and Lester is the big O-line guy here at Windy City Gridiron, and I mean, he was talking about how impressive he thought Benedette was in pass protection. He didn't really have any concerns about in the run game, but in pass protection, yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought he did a tremendous job, especially given where he's coming from. And then on the other side, you've all seen the clips out there. Darnell Wright, despite having the cast or whatever on his right arm for extra support on that injury, my God, what he did especially in the run game, taking out 2 guys at a time by himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he might push for the Pro Bowl this year. It's possible.
Yeah.
He's looking Darnell's looking amazing so far this year. And the middle of the line, we haven't been as concerned about. Joe Tooney was phenomenal the other night. Played very, very well. We've had some issues with snaps, so hopefully Dahlman gets that together. And Jonah Jackson's been up and down. He was on the injury report today as a DNP as well.
Right.
But
he's mostly been up since that first week, though. And
yeah.
And they are, and that's part of the resurgence this week as well. Chris, is the cohesiveness of that line. They're complementing each other where they're finishing combo blocks, comboing on a defensive lineman and getting to the next level without getting caught up, and that's paying dividends. And on that run you mentioned, Darnell Wright, which I loved seeing it in live motion. But what I didn't see at the time, I did on the replays, was the clutch blocks by Olamide and DJ Moore. Olamide, who's like 185 pounds on a defensive end, and DJ Moore, I think, on outside linebacker. They sealed that edge so that Wright could pull around, and then obviously Swift did his thing. But that's the Ben Johnson effect. Remember, no rock or no block, no rock.
Yeah.
DJ Moore we haven't said one word about his blocking. That's a testament to the effort he's been putting in. And as far as him being injured this week, I'm with you. I'm concerned about that. Obviously, the nature of it with him being in the hospital the evening of the game, but at the same time, man, get Luther Burden in there. Dude, he looked explosive Monday night, and Caleb has his best passer rating to Luther on the whole team, more than Rome, more than DJ. So Luther, hopefully will get a chance to do more if DJ's out. So that's the one saving grace. Don't rush him back. I know DJ's one tough SOB, but don't rush him back. If he's not quite ready, then let Luther step up, and keep Olamide in the slot, but move Luther in it, make him more active, get him that ball. But yeah, I'd be curious, Chris, let us know. Did you decide to have that neat bourbon before or after you saw we were toasting on some brown tonight? Tell us the truth.
Let us know in the chat for sure. Yeah, man. I noticed with DJ, and then especially after the injury happened, watching back the tape too. I mean, that guy was just out there blocking his ass off right until the end, despite hurting, which was particularly incredible. And then you're talking about Zacchaeus for sure. He missed that catch that could have been a 90-yard touchdown. I mean, it was right there for the taking. But you're right. When it comes to blocking, he was phenomenal too. So you got to give the wide receivers credit. And yeah, if DJ is hurt, here it is. We got depth at that position. Zacchaeus has been a phenomenal pickup for this team. Really has, right behind Rome, has become kind of a go-to guy for Caleb. And then Luther obviously coming along as a rookie. So yeah, like you feel like in the past, if DJ would have been sitting out, that would have been like disastrous for this team. And like, I feel like he could sit out and the offense would be fine, which is wild to say, but like, I feel like, if he needs to get right, I think they'll be okay right now. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the luxury with having him and Colson Loveland brought in. We have weapons now, and we need to give them opportunities. And when you have these guys in front of them, just like we saw last year with Keenan Allen and Rome, everybody thought Rome all of a sudden wasn't worth the pick. He wasn't getting opportunities as much. And so yeah, let Rome or DJ rest up if it's going to hinder him at all, which is a question I would have for Mason on bare bones. What's that? I guess we don't know for sure given the nature of the specific injury, but rest up if that's an issue at all, and let Luther do some work, especially given our opponent this week. Which hopefully we can pound the rock on and take advantage of the passing game anyway with Caleb. But yeah, I think DJ will be okay, but I'm happy with what he's been doing so far. I thought he had a gutty performance and made some plays when he had to.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the officiating, or should we move on?
Well, it's hard as a fan of the team that you feel like the officials are poorly doing their job against. I wish I was watching with a Commander fan or somebody that wasn't a fan of any team, but um, I know that there were multiple plays that I not only questioned at the time, but the replay also did, and then hearing the booth also question who was very anti-Chicago all game. It makes you wonder. And then there's a whole bunch of just mentions in social media about it, and there's actually a USA Today article this week about officiating, and mostly in postseason big games, and how it has actually gone very clearly one direction in the Chiefs' favor lately. And I don't know if there's a connection between the Chiefs and the Commanders, but I do know if it can happen with one team, it can happen for any team. And with Jaden winning Rookie of the Year, with it being the nation's capital, Monday night in their home, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I know that, and I know coming into it, that crew, they're known to call more penalties than the average crew. So, I don't like going that route, but there were a couple penalties I thought were super egregious. The touchdown reversal with the Theo formation was absolutely bogus. The dude from the Chiefs who gets that call all the time, Jawan Taylor, he's bad, and it is clearly he is off. But Theo was like, it looked legit at first glance, and when you look even closer, it still is a legit formation. So that one really hurt. The Colson one was tough too. There's a lot of them. The Brisker, roughing the passer when he like rolled off. It was rough, man. It was rough. There were a couple calls that went our way, but ultimately it was bad. And I don't think I was even as upset as you were, to be honest.
Well, yeah, we were texting about it, and we were not happy. I'll just say that. But I mean, the one on Theo was obviously the worst. You can't take points off the board for that. Like the rule is his helmet is supposed to be like at the waist of the center, I believe. And like if you watch the replay, it looks like it is. I mean, it's definitely not so egregiously bad that you would
Right.
whistle that and take off a touchdown. And it was disappointing because Rome has scored in every single game this year and should have scored in this one too. But he made a hell of a catch too.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
yeah, it was bad, but in the end, we got the win, so we don't have to talk about it. We can move on. But I think it was egregious. I think it was very, very bad. And they got, you mentioned it. That was the crew that has the most flags thrown in the league this year. So maybe not that surprising. I saw that stat going into the game and got a little bit worried.
Yeah.
But it definitely seemed like they were trying to make the game about themselves, unfortunately. And you never like to see that. But look, in the end, I'm pleased the Bears led for the majority of the game, blew the lead, and then somehow came back and won. And it's been a long time since we've had a team that does that around these parts.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, going into the next several weeks, we talked about it on the program last week. There was a real opportunity to start stacking some wins.
Yep.
With who we have coming up now, we've got the Saints at home. Then we go to Baltimore, which Lamar's probably going to be playing in that game. Roquan probably back for that game too, so that'll be a tough one. At Cincy, a game you think the Bears should win, but we'll see. New York at home, and then we go with to Minnesota, which is gonna be a tough game. But these next four, man, I'm telling you, it seems like we walk out of there with a winning record. If we win 3 of the 4, I'm feeling really good about this team, right? And we can be in the mix down the stretch, which is all we've asked for.
Right.
Like I'll still say this. It's tight right now. They still have a chance at the division, obviously. And I've got a good friend he has a sports betting podcast, and this dude is really good at his job. And he commented on the reel I shared last week from our show. And this was on Instagram, on my Instagram page. And he said, the Bears are still my pick to win the NFC North. He said he thought Caleb was going to have a good game, and he picked him at the beginning of the year to win the NFC North. And, I don't know if I'd bet on that, but we all thought that in the mix for wild card spot this year. And that is definitely alive. And after the next 4 or 5 weeks, we could be in a very, very good position. And that's super exciting.
Yeah.
I don't want to get ahead of myself because last year we were sitting at 4-2 and we know what happened, but it just seems like a totally different situation this year. And so New
Yeah.
Orleans is a game that, it's got some added drama. You got Spencer Rattler at quarterback. Him and Caleb got that history at Oklahoma before they both transferred out of there. Same draft class, obviously number 1 overall pick to the 5th round, 150th overall pick. And, Rattlers looked pretty decent this year, Brian. And
Yeah.
I think when the schedule came out, people were thinking New Orleans would be like possibly the worst team in the NFL and that this should be one of the easiest games to win. And I don't think they're the worst team in the NFL anymore. I mean, they're 1-5, obviously, but they've had some chances to have like they've played some games close. The Patriots, they just lost to them 25-19. They beat the Giants. They only lost to the Cardinals by 7. They got clobbered by the Seahawks. They lost by 12 to the Bills, lost by 5 to the Niners. They've been in some games. And again, like I said, Rattler has maybe looked better than people expected. So
Yep.
what are your thoughts on this game as we start jumping into talking about New Orleans?
So I think it's wise to be um, cautious and definitely bring your A game and respect the team because, like Caleb said, it's the NFL, it's a professional league, and they're pro players on that side who play well. Um, but if you look at their only win, it's the only game off season that they won the turnover battle. And in that game, they actually, I believe, caused 5 turnovers, which is insane against the Giants. And I think if we can, like the Raiders game, for instance, was kind of an uncharacteristic game both for us and for them. They ran the ball well and hadn't been running well all year. They stopped the run well and hadn't been doing that all year. And um, and they didn't defend the pass too well, but they did against us because of the pressure that they caused. And so it could be a weird game like that, where like Carl Granderson or Chase Young, just wreaks havoc up front, something like that, where I could see. But if we just play within ourselves, establish the run, and take advantage of the opportunities, I foresee this being our best offensive game so far. Like overall, well-rounded run game and pass game in one, dominating. And I know Rattler. I think he's only thrown one pick all year. I don't know how many fumbles he's had, but Jaden Daniels had 0 turnovers coming into the game against us. And we're just on a roll right now with that. So if we can win that turnover battle, because I think every other game they've tied the turnover battle except for the last one. They lost that one by 1. Every other game they tied. The only time they won is when they won the turnover battle. And that kind of goes into the overall caliber of team that they are, in my opinion. And they can't overcome some of that stuff. And a lot of teams can. I think it's like 70%. When you win the turnover battle, you're going to win the game. But I think if we can continue our streak of turnovers, it's not going to be a nail biter. It's going to be a blowout, similar to the Cowboys game. Kind of my prediction, with a more well-rounded output overall. So I'm looking forward to it. But I could see a Kamara going off and someone on defense just wreaking havoc. But I'm optimistic that it won't be that sort of trap game based on what I've seen so far.
Yeah. I just looked it up. So Rattlers had 2 fumbles this year. He had 1 in the loss to Buffalo and 1 in the loss to San Francisco. So, yeah, 2 fumbles. You're right. 1 pick, 6 touchdowns. I believe his passer rating something like 91 or something this year. So, yeah, man, I'm just really encouraged by what happened with the run defense this week. Because Kamara's getting older, but he's still a very reliable guy with the rock in his hands, especially against a bad rushing defense. And TJ Edwards coming back and looking healthy. Like he played in that Detroit game, but I don't think he was 100%. Having that extra break with the bye week, coming back, him and Tremaine both had really good games. And I was doing the Game Balls article, and I was going back and forth between the two of them, Brian, and I had your words echoing in my head. I can't give both of them the game ball. I can't cop out. Brian told me I can't do that anymore. So I'm like, all right, I'm going with TJ because I just felt like his presence, again, he's probably the best in run defense of our linebackers. You've talked about that on the show before. I just think he brought so much being back on the field. And so with him healthy, hopefully our guy Austin Booker plays this week. We'll see.
He's got to, man.
We're very encouraged. I think he can help out with the pass rush. I also thought, and you talked about this last week, how Montez had his best game last year against Washington, his old team. I felt like he had a sneaky good game. Like it didn't really show up on the stat sheet against the Commanders as much, but there were so many times where he was getting into the backfield and causing pressure. And there was the one time where it looked like he had the sack, and who was that? Somebody undercut him and like took his legs out like friendly fire, and that's why he didn't get the sack on Jaden. But he was getting some serious jump and pressure in that game, and he was starting to look like his old self a little bit too. And if we get Austin Booker on the other side and he's bringing what we think he can bring, the defense is 100% on the up and up. Absolutely. And if it'd be nice to see them hold the rushing attack to under 100 yards. It was like 120 or something, 126, something like that against Washington. If they can get that under 100, I mean, you're talking about a really good defense. And I mean, that's a heck of a turnaround from where they were at, not just a few weeks ago, but all of last year when they could not stop the run since game 1. So Yeah, I agree with your take on causing some turnovers with a young quarterback here in Spencer Rattler. They just seem to be on this run where these turnovers are happening. Ben talked about that in the post game to the team in the locker room. Some people think takeaways are lucky, but it's not luck. They're making this happen. So I'm definitely picking the Bears to win this game. I can see why people can say it could be a trap game, but I think this team's going to be focused. I don't think that this coaching staff's going to let them overlook a team.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. And it was great to have TJ back and be healthy. I don't think he's fully up to speed though after his first game in so long. I felt like he was a tick late, um, a number of plays, and and that just goes to show how imperative he is on our team. If he can be a tick late and still contribute to that much success on defense, stop of the run, and diagnosing plays. Like he didn't make plays, but he forced them back into where his support was often, and that's critically important as well. Um, I'm a little concerned about Noah Sewell. I'm I'm a
Yeah.
little concerned about that, but and who's going to step up in his absence. I think there's a chance that we could, trade for a depth linebacker potentially, but I think Sewell will be back sooner than later. Hopefully, that was a gruesome looking injury though. And then obviously letting Grady Jarrett get healthy. I've been pretty critical of him this year because he's not played well, but like we were talking about with DJ, let them get healthy and then contribute at full strength. These are grizzled veterans, and they'll put their lives out there on the line, their health on the line. But if you can't, do your job better than the guy behind you, if you're not 100%, then you should not be playing. And
Yeah.
I think that helped. I think having Billings in there starting, I think that was huge. Obviously, we elevated Jonathan Ford, who was the culprit of the friendly fire, to Noah Sewell,
Hmm.
but and getting Shamar Turner more snaps out at defensive end. It was just a savvy move by the staff. And I think we haven't talked about Kyler Gordon. I think him coming back was solid in run support and solid after the catch. Making tackles and big hits. He had, I think, the biggest hit I remember the whole game um, on I think it was a run, and so getting those guys back up full speed, getting Austin Booker back, that's going to be huge. But um, how we talked earlier in the year against the Vikings about their two-headed monster at running back. Everybody talks about Aaron Jones. Everybody talks about Alvin Kamara. What did I say? I said Jordan Mason is the one we need to worry about. This week it could be Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller is coming into his own. He was a stud coming out of TCU a few years back. He looks healthy himself. He is a guy that I absolutely could see ripping off some chunk gains against us if we're not fitting our runs and rallying to the ball. He doesn't get brought down by arm tackles, and he's someone I'd be worried about. Kamara is a stud. Don't get me wrong; he's an absolute stud. But don't sleep on Kendre back there either. And so we're going to have our work cut out for us. If you start running the ball, all of a sudden, pass game is so much easier. And Chris Olave has looked like his old self finally. And then you have Rashid Shaheed back there, who is 12 point something yards per catch. He's a deep play waiting to happen. We got to be sound, and our safeties got to play disciplined ball, not letting anything behind them. And it's going to be interesting, but and they got nothing to lose. There's always danger in playing teams that have nothing to lose. So, but most exciting thing, my man, you're going.
I am. I will be
Yes,
there. I think
yeah,
there's like 3 people on our staff at Windy City Gridiron. They're going to be in the house. I know Jacob's going to be there, so I got to try to meet up with him at some point. You were joking about, Jacob's post-game show here on the channel, how he's not going to be able to do it, and we should just whip out the cell phone in the parking lot and give it a go.
yes, yeah. Nobody responded to me in that chat. I thought it was a great idea, though.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll be there. And so hey, if you're a podcast listener and you see me around, say hello. But I'm looking forward to it. Haven't been to a game this year. Try to get to one game a year. So this is the one that I chose, and I was hopeful it would be a win. seen quite a few wins in a row now. It's been a while. I think the last game I went to that the Bears lost was that disaster against the Dolphins in 2014, where Brandon Marshall almost got in a fist fight in the locker room afterwards. I was at that
Yeah.
game, and that was a disastrous game.
That's the
But
last one you went to?
that was the last time they lost when I went,
Okay.
I believe.
And didn't you say you have a win streak going when you go with your pops?
Yes. So
And
I'm
you're
going
going
with
with him
him,
again,
and
right?
he has never seen the Bears lose with me. Every
That's
game
amazing.
I've went to with him,
And
they've
he's
won at
going this
least.
weekend, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you got to tell our listeners what you're going to be wearing. What jersey are you going to wear? Are you going to wear a jersey? You're going to wear, you know what you're going to wear?
It'll be a jersey for sure. It's either going to be Peyton or Caleb, because I did buy a Caleb in the
Oh,
offseason.
sweet.
Probably
Home,
Caleb.
home or
It's a
away?
home Caleb. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Well, you'll be one of the many. So
I know
sorry,
that
listeners.
won't make me that definitely
Yeah.
won't make me stand out. Speaking of that, what jersey is that, a Nate Vasher jersey? I've been trying to
No,
figure it
dude.
out.
This is a Rashawn Salam.
Oh yeah. Wow. Now that's vintage. Rashad Salam. Nice.
Old school.
God,
Yeah,
I had a bunch of his rookie cards. I thought he was
me
really going to be
too.
great. Yeah.
He was for the first year, and then he tore his ACL, and he was never the same. But
Yeah.
Heisman Trophy winner, I'll never forget, man. He had his breakout game, I believe, was against the Bucks when they were still in our division. He had
Yeah.
over 100 yards, and gosh, I was in love with that guy. Him and Curtis Conway back in the day were my faves.
Oh man, Curtis
But
Conway.
yeah,
Yeah.
Rashawn Salam, the late Rashawn Salam. Cheers to a good life lived, young man.
Yes. Man, that still fits you good. You must have been swimming in that one back in the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Late 90s.
yeah.
Oh man. Yeah,
Benefit
so
to get home.
yeah, we'll see. Again, I'm optimistic. Love going to Soldier. Last year was at the opener. Not the best game to attend from an offensive perspective, but they got the W,
We got
so
the one. Yep, and it
was
with
happy
Caleb.
with that.
Big time. Yep.
Didn't really go around COVID or the first couple of years after that. I think I was at the Vikings game in 2019 that they won with my dad. I was at Raiders, so I beat the Raiders with my dad. This is probably, I want to say 2016, a home game too. So hopefully we can keep that streak going. One of the places I like to go when I'm in Chicago, and I'm staying kind of in that area around Soldier, is Buddy Guys, the Blues Club. Have you ever been there?
Mm-mm.
So
Mm-mm.
quick story, not related to football, because I'm going to try to convince my dad to go to Buddy Guys. We've gone before, but I was in there with my wife one night, and Buddy Guy himself walked in out of nowhere, got up on the stage, played 2 songs, and left. Could not believe it. He walks in, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's Buddy Guy right there. And yeah, sure enough, walked in with like an entourage of like 4 people. I mean, he's like in his 80s now, I think. Well, the namesake of the blues club, this blues
Dude,
legend, walks in,
that's awesome.
plays. There was a guy like doing a set on the stage, and he just interrupted him. Like, yeah, I own this place. Played a couple songs and left, man. So I might be around those parts too. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But should be a good weekend. I'll let you all know what I did in Chicago next week on the show. And hopefully, Brian, I can drag you out there one of these seasons. It's been a
Yeah,
while for you.
we need to scope a place nearby to do a post game pod of our own, Bears over
Yeah,
Beers version, one of these years. That'd be awesome.
absolutely.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
just looked. The last time we played them was almost exactly 2 years ago, 2023 season, and this was one of Tyson Bagent's starts. They had Derek Carr under center over there, and they won. Taysom Hill scored a rushing touchdown. Carr threw a couple TDs, one of them to um, Juwan Jackson or Juwan Johnson, who's going to be there again this week, who's actually had a pretty good season. And we had Deontay Foreman. So, just looking at our offensive weapons from now to then is pretty remarkable. But yeah, we've not had good success against them lately. We have really gotten beat by them a lot the last few times.
Yeah, I think, if we were playing them in New Orleans, I'd consider going just because I love going to New Orleans so much. And, the next time they play them down there, I might consider going. I feel, was it, so that was 2 years ago? Because I think I was thinking about going to that game, and then something came up, and my wife and I were going to go, and then we ended up not going. But God, I
That
love
was
New Orleans.
that was in New Orleans. Our last win wasn't till 2008 against them.
My God.
We have lost 8 straight
Oh,
against the Saints.
punishment for beating them in the NFC title game.
Yeah, I mean,
including the 2020 playoff game too. Our last playoff game down at the Superdome.
That's true. That didn't even count that one.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we're due for a win, in my opinion. That's what the stats tell me.
So should we do picks? Because last week, Brian, you predicted, and this was before people knew Jake Moody was going to be kicking. Because again, we didn't know till the day of the game, but you're like, I'm pretty sure he's going to kick. And you not only predicted he was going to kick, but predicted he would hit the game winner. And the score was pretty dang close to what it ended up being too.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Karnak the Magnificent for our older listeners, why don't you give us your prediction?
Had they kicked the extra point instead of failing the 2-point conversion, I would have been on the money with all my predictions. But
yeah,
alas, I think we put up a 40 burger against them. I'd say 41-13. I think it's a pretty, maybe 16. Let's do 41-16 domination, start to finish, full game. And I really think it's going to set up a nice contest the following week on the road against a finally healthy Ravens squad that I thought was going to win the Super Bowl beginning of the season. They're going to be hungry, and they've got the talent, especially if they get Roquan, Lamar, Marlon Humphrey back. That's going to be a good test. But New Orleans, say 41-16 with the W. You'll enjoy it.
I will be on cloud 9 if that happens. It will be a fun drive home after the game if that is the case. Yeah, I'll say, let's see. Boy, 40 burger would be nice. I'm going to go a little lower. I'll say 34-17. I'll say we double them up exactly. 34-17. Bears. 34-17. 4-2. Feeling good going into that big game at Baltimore.
It'd be huge. Yeah. Who has more passing yards, Caleb or Spencer?
Ooh, I think Caleb. I mean, you get up that big, we could rely on running. Certainly, that could be a danger in that prediction. But I'm gonna say Caleb. I'm gonna say they light it up early. Home fans are pretty happy about it. Place is going nuts.
I think we get 2 turnovers, 1 pick by Byard, and I don't know what the other one's going to be, but the other one's going to be returned for a touchdown.
Why not Kyler? I'll say Gordon takes one back to the house if that happens.
I love it. Yeah, maybe fumble recovery. We'll see.
Rome getting the end zone this week.
Oh yeah.
Swift another big game.
Bird's going to dominate. Swift's going to just do okay this week. He's going to do his job, but our run game will dominate.
Yeah. Hey, we saw our guy Roshan get a carry, and then they kind of forgot about him. But
he should have had another one, but fumbled the snap. I was happy to see him in there, and hopefully we'll see him a little bit more. But Monungai looked good too. He did. Our whole run game, there's no complaints at all. I'm just happy that people have chilled off with the Swift hate because that's been pretty intense lately. But he looked like the best player on the field, frankly. So
yeah, I mean, you've been leading the charge on that Swift's been getting too much hate. So I mean, your takes on this pod, Brian, have been pretty much on the money this year. So I hope the 40 burger is too, for sure. Real quick before we end the show, because you mentioned we were going to talk about this on possible trade targets for the Bears. And people were talking. We brought up some of the running back names a couple of weeks ago on the show, but not saying the Bears don't need to get another guy in here long term, but right now, it's one game, but Swift looked really good last week and also was great in the receiving game, obviously with the 55-yard touchdown. Where would you like to see if the Bears make a trade? And we know Poles hasn't been shy about doing that since he's been here. What position group are you looking at as your primary target for a trade if that's the road they go down, if they think that they can contend, as you said earlier.
Yeah, for me, I'm not interested in mortgaging the future for an asset. And you know, the worthwhile asset would be an edge that's a game record, Micah Parsons type of player, um, Max Crosby, um, Trey Hendrickson, but that's going to cost a lot in the trade, and it's going to ruin your cap as well. So I would like something that costs a lot less on both fronts, from a trade cost and then a contract cost. So I like a defensive tackle, is what I would like. A defensive tackle that can get after the passer. I've said it on Windy City Gridiron. I doubt that the Giants are going to trade Dexter Lawrence, but he'd be a guy I would love. Quinnen Williams, young guy I love. I think maybe most likely, which I think would probably be the lowest cost, but he might be playing the best ball at all these guys, and that's over in Tennessee. Um,
Simmons.
Yeah, Justin Simmons or Jeffrey Simmons, and he's got the connection with Bayard. They're a rebuilding team. They need to get younger. He's not gonna get any championships in Tennessee. So bring him on over here. Let him dominate. Give us some more depth on the interior with the pass rush. I think it really kind of depends, Ryan, on how Austin Booker looks when he comes back. If he can show up and even just be a Mark Anderson-esque presence on third down, pass rush specialist, he can do that, we're good. Let Dio and Shamar hold down the fort on rundowns. Booker get out after the quarterback. Bring in a guy like Simmons and solidify that run defense with some more depth and oomph, and then also give us a pass rush. That'd be my preference. But and it also kind of depends on Theo. If Theo continues to play well at left tackle, then I could see us being okay with that until next year. But again, what's it going to cost to get a bona fide upgrade at left tackle? You're going to trade for a guy like Braxton Jones, and I just don't think the cost analysis is worth it. So give me a D tackle, man. That's what we need. You can even argue a corner, which I'd be fine to bring in a couple guys if it's not going to cost you more than a late round pick, fourth at the best, but ideally a fifth, sixth round pick, which a lot of these guys end up going for. Bring in some competition. Let's do this thing. But what about you? What are your thoughts? Are you still thinking running back or what?
No, not now. I'm a lot more confident in this running game, based on Roshan actually getting involved, because we've been calling for that to happen forever. And they put him in. Did he immediately run for 7 or 8 yards?
Yeah,
right away.
6
I mean,
yards.
I was so disappointed when that wasn't the call on the fourth down. Just give him the ball. Overthinking it, I thought a little bit there, but no, I'm probably not going running back right now. I agree with you on D line, and Simmons has been the name that's been out there. There was rumors out there about DJ being involved in the trade with him. Obviously, DJ's health is going to be a major concern in making that a possibility. But I mean, like, I don't want to mortgage the future either. If you can get a guy for a late round pick that you think that can contribute, I'm looking D line for sure. Linebacker could end up being a concern with Sewell. We'll see what happens there. But I think D line, and I love the Mark Anderson comp. That's kind of what we've been talking about in the show for a while. That's what we want to see Austin Booker become. And that'll just be gigantic for this defense. I mean, we already saw it. It might not have shown up on the stat sheet as much, like I talked about earlier with Montez in this game. And, Jaden being so elusive, and he broke off a couple of big runs, but still they were getting pressure on him. And some of that doesn't show up in the stat sheet, but I saw guys getting in there a lot earlier than we've seen in other games this year. And if you can add Austin Booker to that mix and he can bring something, we're in a good spot. And then you're looking at D tackle, because Grady just really hasn't contributed like we had hoped, at least so far.
Right.
So I like the idea of getting a D tackle in there, someone like a Jeffrey Simmons. So yeah, We're in agreement there. We're lockstep there, my friend.
Nice.
All right, guys, that is going to be it for Bears Over Beers this week. We appreciate every one of you who joined us out there, and certainly everyone that joins us after the fact on the podcast feed or right here on youtube.com. You can support the show with some Bears Over Beers merch or just Second City Gridiron merch. The link is in the broadcast description. You can get this Bears Over Bourbon glass I've been drinking out of tonight. I believe it's $12 on the store. High quality, awesome logo. Drink with us every single Wednesday night for the rest of the year and in the off season too.
It looks like it makes the Blantons taste better too, doesn't it?
It does. It's going down. It's going down well. Absolutely. But we got shirts too. We got hoodies. It's getting cold, all kinds of stuff. So you can support the show and all the other content creators here on the channel while you're at it.
We should share the picture. We had a listener share a picture of his own and holding the pint glass up. So you get one of these items, go on and share it, and you might make the show. You'd be famous.
Yeah, let me share that picture because that was a phenomenal picture. So a couple of weeks ago on the show, you guys that listen every week will remember this. We did a giveaway for one of our pint glasses. And our guy who won, I DM'd him. I'm like, man, you got to share out a picture of that glass. He's like, I got you. He's like, Monday Night Football, I'm going to share a picture. And this was a great picture. I mean, it almost looked like it was professionally done. Like, holy smokes, that was better than I expected. So let me zoom in on this picture of our friend Bronaldino here. Here we go. Hopefully you guys are all seeing this. Yeah, let me scroll down on this picture. Giving him some airtime. Look at that. Bears Over Beers, wearing the Butkus jersey.
Beverage.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So he's got one. Looks nice and cold. Love it. Get your own Second City Gridiron shop. Support the pod. And help us in continuing to grow this audience and build this show up week after week. And man, this is a lot more fun to do, Brian, than when the Bears are losing. So let's keep this going.
Amen. Yeah, take some pics for us. You should definitely bring some sort of merch if you can, and throw it on a Soldier Field stall or something like that, bro. But if you guys see him, he's an easy autograph, that's for sure.
There you go.
And a selfie.
Get those selfies all over Twitter and Instagram.
Do you have stickers this week? You should get some stickers, hand them out to anybody that recognizes you.
I did order some. I don't know if they're going to be here in time, but I did order some. So
all right. Well, you might get here in time. Yeah, might get yourself a Bears Over Beers sticker. The first, I don't even have them.
Yeah, get it before my co-host here. All right, guys, this has been a lot of fun. I got to go check in on those kids that are, in the single parent household tonight. Can't wait for my wife to get home tomorrow. It'll be much easier. So props to all the single parents out there. I don't know how you do it night after night. but the Blanton certainly helped tonight, and talking with Brian and all of you always does as well. So we will catch you all next Wednesday. Go Bears. Let's get that dub over the Saints and bear down.
Bear down. Cheers.